Good morning, good afternoon. Once again, it will depend on the time that you are joining the course. Today we are going to focus on the reason number two, and then we are going to look for the foundation of statistics and data analysis. So why we are going to see these kind of things before, because we are talking about the other programming, and now we have also decided to say about the foundation of statistics and data analysis. The reason why it is because you cannot be the good data analyst without knowing statistics, because what we are going to see in Arab programming, it is also the application of statistics. When it comes to the data, the decision that we are going to take, as I told you, we are going to be basing on statistical models. So that's why we need to understand these kind of things. So I'm going to make the a short introduction on statistics, like a foundation, and also we link with the data analysis. And then for you, what you have to do, there is a material we have on the system where we read much about the statistics, and feel free to ask any question that you can test since you are reading. There is a place where you can comment or what is not really understandable, and you can contact us in Data Plus Rwanda so that we can help you to understand it. There is also a variable instructor. Every time you have a problem, just don't hesitate to ask us. So allow me to jump to the course of today, and who is this chapter for? This is chapter is for the university and college student, NGO and government employee, and also professional who want to work with data for decision making. It is not the person who really knows statistics. Anyone who want to jump from any field to statistics, there is no prior experience is required, as I said, and we will explain the concept step by step by using a simple English so that we can understand it, and of course by providing easy examples. So allow me to jump to the definition of statistics, because before we jump to the concept of statistics, we need to understand what is statistics. And then, as I said, statistics is the science of correcting and analyzing, interpreting and presenting the data for the sake of making better decision. I forget to add it, but keep in mind that what we are doing, everything that we are doing here, we are correcting the data, we are analyzing, we are interpreting, and we are presenting the data for the purpose of taking better decision. And then the statistics also help us to understand what using numbers. We are using numbers to understand, to quantify the evidence in real world problem. Of course, there is a lot of the problem that is there on the world. Let's say, for example, maybe we can say that there is a problem of lack of electricity in Africa, for example. But for us to make sure that we can make better plan to handle that problem, so we need to know to what extent, like a percentage or the numbers of a household that is not having electricity, so that in a plan that we are doing the plan, but also knowing the baseline, knowing the information about the problem. Like we normally knows that maybe 80% of people, they don't have electricity. So from that, we are getting quantified numbers, and it is easier for us to make a plan. That is one of the applications of statistics in a simple way. And then what you have to know, it is not just a mathematic, but also it is a enable decision based on the data. We are basing on the data. If I say the data, just understand that it is a piece of information. By giving you an example, if I say the piece of information, I want to give you an example like let's say the police officer, they make the investigation about the case, let's say a case A. They go to the field, and then they combine, they correct a lot of evidence, and those evidence they are going to put in Excel sheet or the document somewhere. They documented those evidence so that they will analyze it to provide the clear information. At the time the police station or the police officer, they correct the information and they store anywhere. For for me, who are not expert on that field, if I get that document, I will not know what is really inside. That's what we call the data. We have information, but which is not talkable to anyone. That's what we call a data. And at the time the police station, they will analyze the case and they provide the clear information so that anyone can understand it without needing the expertise. That's what we call information. So we are trying to understand the data in that case, and it is easier for us since we understand the data in that case. And simply by giving an example, everything that we are seeing with our eyes, that we are hearing, what we are talking, it is also the data. So when we are using the sight part of our body, everything that we are doing, we are generating the data. I want you to understand this. If you understand that what we are doing by using our sight of body, like understanding, hearing, talking, it's always generating the data. And here it is a simple example on how we can use also statistics to understand it better. Let's say, for example, teacher want to know if the student learn better in a group or alone, and then statistics also help us to compare the test of those who run with a group and those who learn without a group, who learn alone. And then they will make the comparison. From that comparison we are going to come up with making decision if we can adopt the student who are working in a group or who are working alone. That is one of the examples of where we are going to apply the statistics. And then this is the comparison of statistics versus mathematics. Most of the time people, they fear mathematics, but don't worry, in statistics we are talking about mathematical explanation. So we are using a simple math to make better life. You see, mathematics, it's like exact numbers and a formula, but statistics deals with uncertainty. If I say uncertainty, it is a things that we didn't know when happen or what will happen. We don't have a full information on it, where the event will happen. We are guessing by using a probability, of course. So if I say uncertainty, understand the probability of something to be happen or not, you see? And then we are basing on that concept of mathematics to predict what will happen. But also, if we are predicting, we are having a probability that things is going to be happen, because we don't predict what we know, we are guessing. That's why I said uncertainty, understand the probability, and also the variation in real world data. So since we make the prediction, since we are dealing with the probability, we need to see the change, variability of what we are proposing. So if we know the variability of what we are proposing, at least we are very sure that if we say this, there is a probability of variating from this to this. That's why we really need to understand the variability in real world problem. And this is an example. If it is a math, if we say 2 plus 2, always we get 4. But in statistics, the on average score. Today, if we say the average, the logic of saying average, it is where we are taking, let's say, if we say the average score, what it means, we are taking all of the student and we put, let's say we have a 500 student, and then we say the average score is 75. It means that we are taking all of the student and we put on the same basket. We need to see how they can be behave. If it is a one person. That's what average means. So, and sometimes the average not always to be 75. Today it can be 75, tomorrow can be changing. That's what I'm trying to show you, which means the numbers of statistics are not fixed. It is a changeable. It can trend, depend on the variability, of course, the variability of input or values that is going to help us to calculate that numbers. So allow me to jump to the types of data. Of course, we are, as I said that the data is a piece of information, but it is also categorized into two types based on the nature. where we have quantitative data or numerical data. It is the data that is providing the numbers, of course. Within the quantitative data or numerical data, we have continuous data and discrete data. So the continuous data, it is a part of numerical information that we get through the measurement. We are measuring that data. Of course, these are numbers, but the way we get it, we have to measure. So there is a lot of measurement that we are using. Let's say, for example, the height, we can use a meter, 1 point, something like that. And then also the temperature, we are using a thermometer to get the temperature, a barometer, any kind of getting that kind of information. So, and then for the discrete, it is also the data that is numeric, but we are not going to get it by measuring, just we are counting. And it is the numbers that when we impose the decimals, it is not going to mean anything. It is going to lose the sense. Let's say, for example, number of person, number of children. You cannot say that the 1.5 children. If I put the decimals to that numbers, it is going to lose the sense. That's what I'm talking. And also it is the discrete, as I said. And another data type, it is categorical data or categorical data or qualitative data. You see, you can say qualitative data or categorical data, and of course it is verbal data. You see, verbal data, it means that it is the data that is expressing the feelings, expressing the attitude, the level of the person. So we get it through the conversation. It's like we are interviewing by answering some questions about the name of locations, the level of satisfactions. It's more, it is like describing. There are data that is describing something. So from there, we have the two categories among the categorical data, where we have a nominal data. Of course, it is the categorical data that is going to provide the names, of course. Let's say, for example, the province, Southern Province, Eastern Province, that is the name. And of course, the gender, female, male, those are things that is not going to be changeable, but describing the something. And then the ordinal, you see, it is also ranking, expressing like the attitude, the level of something you put into something. By giving you an example, education level, if I'm asking you education level, you will say the primary, secondary, university, PhD, something like that. And then if I ask you like how do you feel? Feel good, very bad, bad, neutral, something like that. They're like expressing the attitude of the feelings. We are ordering things that is going to be ordered. That's where we need ordinal data. So then from that, you see that I said this is the types of data based on nature. And sometimes you will see that the video, it is also the types of data. And then the image, it is also the types of the data. Those are another types of the data based on the structure of the data. So, and what we are talking here, it is also the types of the data based on nature. Yeah, I want you to make it clear. And that is most popular data type we know normally deals with when we are analyzing the data and also the big data. So on the big data, we will also see the videos, images, those kind of things. And of course, there is a source of data. So if I say the source of data, understand where data comes. Where data comes. So we have the primary data and the secondary data. The primary data, I used to say that is a second hand. Sorry, not second hand, first hand, apology. The primary data, I used to say that it is a first hand data. So it's a data you correct it's yourself. So this is the data you collect from the field. When, let's say, for example, you are interested to see the impact of social media on youth in Rwanda, for example, you will go to the field to collect the data. Those data that you are collecting, it is your own, and you engaged in the collecting that information at the first time. So once you get that data from the field, you are going to use you are going to use it as the first person. You take it as like a face the hand. That's what we call primary data. But if you need the data and then you get somewhere, maybe from government survey, databases, institution somewhere, international agents, just on their platforms, that's what we call the secondary data, because we are using the data, but yet it is corrected by the other person. You didn't intervene on that data correction. That's what we call the secondary data. And also there is the method of the data correction, where the method of doing the data correction, we have also survey or the questionnaire, we have also the observation, we have also the experiment, and also existing record or the database. That's where we can that's where the method we can use when we are correcting the data. So there is a lot of method we can use, but this is also the simple way we can use once we are trying to make those kind of things. So, and then not only this, but also one of the example, when we are counting how many students are bringing the lunch from the home versus buying at the school, that is also one of the things we need to take into consideration. And not only this, but also we will see the types of data analysis. This is a simple, but in terms of data analysis, most of the time we have descriptive statistics, explanatory data analysis, inferential. On descriptive, we are trying to describe, or we are trying to summarize the data just to understand the mean, median, and also the charts. And the explanatory, of course, we are finding the pattern and the relationship. And the inferential, we are making prediction or testing hypothesis. So if I say hypothesis, just understand testable proportion, something that is there, anyone can oppose or agree with it. And we have to prove it by using the data, of course, we get from the field. And then we are making also the prediction from what we already know on the side of inferential statistics. Of course, that's what we are dealing with. And we on descriptive, we normally say that if it is a descriptive, we are looking for the average height of the student. Let's say the average height of the student, it is 160 centimeter. That is the describing or summarizing. And inferential, we are predicting next class height using the sample data. Since we get 160, on inferential, we really understand, we're really interested to see what will happen in the future. Since we have 160, what is the probability of getting more or less? Those are the some expectations we have on inferential statistics. And we have the measure of central tendency. So we use the measure of central tendency when we are describing the data. When we are dealing with descriptive analysis, we normally use measure of central tendency. So on the measure of central tendency, we use it, we are using it when we are dealing with the data which is numeric, where we use the mean, median, and the mode. And the mean, it is also showing us we are averaging the numbers to see it as one. You see, we know that there is a lot of student that has different numbers, sorry, different ages, but we need to see when we look at those students in same basket or as a single student, what they will look like. That's what we call mean. And then the median, we are looking with the middle value. The middle value means what? These are the students that are having a lot of ages, and you have to see the student who have the good age among them, like they don't have high and also don't have low, in the middle, students who have the age which is on the middle, balancing it by looking for those who having a high and those who having a low. And we see persons who don't have the big, who don't have a problem on having high age and also but also don't having, it's like a 50% of the information that we are having simply. So the mode, it's the most frequent value. If I say the mode, let's say highest, the highest repetitivity, that's what we call the mode. An example, we are getting the data from the field about the gender. So if we see that majority of the participants are male, it means that our mode is male because the majority highest frequency. So that is an example of what that we are talking. So the way we are calculating it, so it is easier, you see, those kind of things. So the variability also, it is another measure that we are dealing with when we are talking about the data which is numeric. So we can't look for the variability when we are talking about categorical data, because on categorical data we don't really need the variability. So what we are focusing on, the variability when we are talking about the numbers. So we have to understand the nature of the variability, how the variability also are look like, how can we interpret that variability, how can we measure the variability. We measure the variability by using variance and also standard deviation, and the grouping variability, looking for the male versus female, but also looking the variability of male and female by using numbers, by using continuous or discrete numbers. And sampling variability, it's where we have different samples when we are trying to make sure that the result that we are getting is correct. It is where we will use the different samples, and then we make the sample, we calculate the parameters or statistics to consider or to compare those results we get to see the variability of the samples. The samples, it will focus on one thing, but also when we are interested to see the majority of getting the same result, we will use a sampling variability method. You see, knowing variability also help us to trust the result and see the pattern. So if I know how my data is going to be varied from the real one, I will know how I can trust my data. To the extent when we are talking about the trust of the data, understand that knowing the variability, it's one of the key important thing to understand or to trust the result that we are seeing, or the patterns, or yeah. Then why we learn statistics before analysis? Of course, to understand the data properly before using R, it is important, because what we are going to do in the next sessions, so we are playing with data. So we are playing with statistical methods in R programming. As we started saying that R programming, it is a tool for statistical software. And so it is tool of statistical uh, method. So we don't want to jump to the application without making sure that you understand what is about. We are avoiding the mistakes. If we understand what we are doing, of course, we are not going to make a mistake. Let's say, for example, maybe you can say that I'm going to calculate the mean of gender, you see? But if you notice, you can't do that kind of things, and then making accurate conclusion based on the data. And then here it is an example. We are comparing a group of two groups without considering variability may lead the conclusion. So you see that when we are trying to make the comparison of two groups, we always look for the variability. But if you do the comparison of those two groups without looking for the variability, since it is a numbers, if it is a categorical, you have to based on the numbers to make the better comparison, but also focusing on variability, as I said. So that is one of the easiest things that we will enjoy, and I hope is going to be good. And of course, running tips for the beginner. This is also the running tips that I'm trying to give you. Focus on concept first before jumping to the other. If you are new in data analysis field, you have to focus on a concept to understand the technical concept, and then the practical one in other is going to be the last one. That's what I can recommend. Use the real life example, predict practical small exercise daily. If I say using real life examples, that as I told you, what we are generating by using the sight of our body, like we are talking, we are seeing, we are hearing, those are the data. So what I'm talking, I'm generating the data. What I'm seeing, I'm seeing the data. So when I look for the machine, I'm looking for the data. Any kind of information that is there, a person can intervene on anything. The environment surround us, that is also the source of the data. So we need to understand the data in that context. And those data, they always cause a problem around us. So we are looking for those problems around us, but to see the way we can solve it, but understanding to what extent the problem is there, it is most important, because they will also help you to know the effort that you are going to put on those kind of things. So though that is also one of the examples of that kind of things, of course. And then that's why we really learn statistics. And there is also the practical example. And this is the summary of what we have seen. We have seen that the statistics, we are learning from the data to make decision. And the types of data based on the nature, have quantitative and categorical data. Source of data, it is primary and secondary data. The method of data correction is we can correct the data by through the survey, observation, and experiment. And then the analysis, we have not only this one, but this is what I was like interested to show you, the basic one, but we will see more. There is a descriptive, explanatory, and differential. We have the measure of central tendency and variability, where we will use it when we are summarizing the numerical data. Mean, median, and mode, variance and standard deviation, or the point or spread. But when we are summarizing categorical data, we use frequency and a percentage. That is easiest way, and sometimes we can use the graphs to make it better to visual the data. But also for the numeric, can use some visuals like histogram. We see it on the part of data visualization. So, and then the statistics is essential before using other, because you understand the tool before making application of that tool. And is the compulsory reading. There is additional material on the folder or the system. Just what you have to do. Once you click on this data plus folder shared, you will see a full explanation of the notes. Those notes is going to help you to make it easier to understand the concept before you dive into the other stuff. So now we are going to look for the next step, where we are going to see for the chapter 2. It is other basics and the data structure. So I hope you enjoyed the session. What I really want you to recommend you, it is just to follow the video, or follow the procedures, continue to read the additional material that we are sharing with you. We are always available for supporting you, and I hope you enjoyed the session. Let's meet to the next session, and thank you once again. Have a good day.